These scenes of buildings engulfed in flames were reminiscent of the Watts riots of 1965. Hundreds of fires were reported. Many were allowed to burn out of control because firefighters were spread too thin. They were also afraid to go in without police protection. Earlier in the day, at least 4 motorists were pulled from their cars and beaten. Angry crowds gathered in some locations. Despite the apocalyptic visions, most of the residential areas of South Los Angeles, LA's predominantly black area, was peaceful. Community members and leaders gathered at the First AME Church. Mayor Tom Bradley said he was outraged by the verdicts in the King beating case, but he also appealed for restraint.
I was shocked, I was stunned, I had my breath taken away by the verdict that was announced this afternoon. We have come tonight to say we have had enough. We encourage you to express your outrage and your anger verbally. We don't intend that any of you should go out and burn down any buildings or break out any windows.
Those words were not heeded by crowds who rampaged at the Civic Center.
No justice, no peace! No justice, no peace! No justice.
Police appeared remarkably restrained, dispersing people, but making few arrests. It appeared there was a conscious effort not to provoke any further violence. This morning, fires still raged in the South Los Angeles area, and residents heard the grim statistics. As of noon Los Angeles time, at least 13 dead, more than 200 injured, 1 firefighter shot in the neck. There was a much greater police presence on the streets today than there was yesterday. Police escorted weary firefighters who were overwhelmed by the immensity of their task. This is smoldering, and you're leaving the scene, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
You wouldn't normally do that?
No, on a normal day, we would never leave something like this, but since, we have so much activity going on right now, what we want to do is just knock the fire down to protect the buildings next to it, just to ensure that they don't start spreading.
And get on to the next one.
Exactly.
In some areas, anarchy and lawlessness prevailed. We saw brazen looting with no police in sight. They were deployed elsewhere. There seemed to be little pattern to the violence, though it did appear that Asian-owned businesses were special targets.
They shot all the windows and stuff. And my mother, they were back there. They couldn't get out.
Are you afraid now?
Yeah, we're afraid they would come back tonight.
Although those participating in violence were in the minority, anger among residents was palpable. What do you mean by this? And what do the people who are honking their horns mean? What are you trying to say?
We're trying to make noise, okay? Noise brought you here. Noise brings the media here. Noise brings attention here. Upon making the noise, hopefully we can get some response.
Is this an endorsement of the violence that we've seen?
No,
it is not.
You do not see no one advocating violence here.
We need to make some type of change. We need to make a statement. We need to have a different police department.
Just to do all of this to innocent people. I mean, these people may be supporters of Rodney King as well as they are. They may not like what happened to Rodney King. And so when you're doing this, you're losing the support of the very thing that you need.
One official, State Senator Diane Watson, toured the area. She said the violence was caused by long-held grievances.
The rage is pent-up rage over a decade of time. Reagan, Bush are just as responsible for what's happening here as the people who are lighting the fires. The 12 jurors made a costly error. And this is a motion that you can't keep under wraps. These people here are serious about this. They burned out the Korean businesses because they can't keep their businesses open.
And it's not just Korean.
No, I said they burned out the Korean business right here.
Yeah.
They burned out black businesses here. They're burning and they're looting because this is one way to get their frustration. What we have to do is come up with a plan to bring economic viability back to our community.
Bus service was curtailed in the riot area, sales of ammunition and guns were forbidden, nor could gasoline be sold in containers. Public schools were shut down in South Los Angeles, so many youths spent their time wandering the streets. Among them, 13-year-old Clifford Christmas.
I don't think the Rodney King trial was right. I think they should have proven them cops guilty. But then again, the black people shouldn't go terrorizing everything like they did. I don't think that's right either.
What are you doing today?
Just going around watching everybody, watching all the stupid fools burning up everything, looking at all that stuff.
Are you frightened?
Yeah, in a way.
Why? What do you think's going to happen?
That it's probably going to burn up over my house or something going to catch on to my house or where my mother lives or by her job, or somebody in my family might get hurt or something.
Yeah. Are there people trying to stop this stuff from going on?
Well, not so far that I know of. It's not nobody trying to do nothing but the police. And the police are so scared to come, they ain't doing nothing about it themselves.
Tonight, a dusk to dawn curfew was to take effect, and the National Guard was expected to be out helping police patrol the streets. Late yesterday afternoon, the situation was chaotic. Looting was widespread. At one location, looters leaving an appliance store created a traffic jam as they escaped, clutching their merchandise. It wasn't until yesterday afternoon that police began to restore a semblance of order by making mass arrests of looters. About the same time, 2,000 National Guard troops arrived in Los Angeles to assist law enforcement officials. At dusk, a curfew took effect in Los Angeles and adjoining cities. As a result, parts of LA were deserted. Hundreds of fires still raged, not as many as the night before, but there was one big difference. Vandalism had spread beyond the confines of South Los Angeles, the predominantly black community where disturbances started. We saw looting close to Hollywood to the north. Fires along Hollywood Boulevard, a world-renowned tourist landmark, might give non-Angelinos some appreciation for the scope of the lawlessness. Even while scattered fires burned, for the most part last night, the police seemed to own the streets. The National Guard stood by at selected locations. At a midnight press conference, officials, including California Governor Pete Wilson, said the curfew seemed to be effective.
The mayor has imposed a curfew. I'm convinced that the curfew is working, that it will work over a long weekend, provided we have an adequate show of force, the kind of presence that is necessary to allow law enforcement to make the arrest necessary.
Officials who had already authorized deployment of 4,000 National Guard troops announced they were requesting 2,000 more.
Once the officers of the sheriff and the chief have secured a building that has been looted, we are going to provide the troops from the Guard who can stay on station at a particular site to assure that the looters do not return. That frees the officers, makes them mobile to go out and make arrests, both on the streets and to actually arrest the people who have been involved in looting.
By daybreak, when the curfew ended, people who returned to their businesses in many cases discovered that the curfew had not worked for them. While firefighters continued their efforts, residents of Los Angeles had to cope with numerous power outages, closed banks, post offices, schools, and other businesses. There are few people in Los Angeles whose lives have not been disrupted in some way. LA is known for its racial and ethnic diversity, and it is important to note that members of all races were both victims and perpetrators of violence. Along Western Avenue, Asian shopkeepers cleaned up what remained of their looted stores.
Do you think that you were targeted because you were Asian? There was a lot of feeling about that.
I don't know, because in whole street here I saw it doesn't matter, what race they are. Vietnamese, Chinese, Korean, and whatever, it still happens. Even, American, I saw American also, get into this target for them.
Further down Western Avenue, lines for gasoline started to form, a first indication of inevitable shortages being faced in some devastated communities. At a Viva supermarket, neighbors volunteered to clean up. Among them, local resident Kenny Long. Long teaches at a public high school.
What's going to happen when people get hungry and need to go to a market to eat?
I think that's when they're going to really come to their senses. They're not going to be able to get any food. You know, I mean, I don't think that the communities, if we don't establish a hold on this place so it doesn't go down, they're not going to rebuild in these communities anytime soon. I've been watching for the last 20 years, and just this place over here was just rebuilt after all the last situation. And I don't
last situation being 1965?
Yes.
Watts riot.
Yeah, exactly.
So it took a while to get this reestablished.
I'd say at least 2 decades.
And now you're worried that it's going to take, what, as much time as that to get reestablished again?
Yeah, but it becomes a community concern, and we have to protect what we know is ours. For those who still have some good sense need to come out and try to talk some sense into those who are not thinking at this time.
The dawn to dusk curfew will remain in effect indefinitely, according to Mayor Tom Bradley. President Bush has authorized the dispatch of 4,000 federal troops to Los Angeles, along with an additional 1,000 U.S. agents. But even with a beefed-up police presence and calls for peace, many residents are looking out for themselves. Hundreds of stores have been closed, so some people are hoarding food, not knowing where or if it will be readily available in their neighborhoods. As the sun rose Saturday, it was clear that the arrival of federal troops had made a difference. The number of overnight incidents dropped dramatically from the first 2 nights, but there was also the irony that many of the buildings guarded by soldiers had already been vandalized.
Well, let's go though. I'm going down.
You wanted to go down that way?
Yeah, I'm going down.
When the overnight curfew had passed and citizens were free to come and go, hundreds of volunteers from all over Los Angeles descended on the devastated businesses and streets of the South Central neighborhoods. Just as law enforcement had made their show of force, so did these people, armed with tools to begin the cleanup: brooms, rakes, shovels, and plastic bags. They were determined to make their own contributions by beginning a healing process. In other neighborhoods, many citizens tried to restore normalcy to their lives by going to a reopened supermarket or by having their hair cut, all the trappings of a typical Saturday. But only a block away, the residents of this scorched apartment building were filled with rage, trying to cope with the loss of something so basic as the roof over their heads.
I gotta pay the bills here. I gotta pay the mortgage. I gotta pay the insurance. I gotta pay the electric. I can't pay it if we don't collect the rent.
But who's going to pay my furniture, my everything, because everything is wet.
Let me tell you something.
The owner of the building had come to listen, to talk about relocation arrangements. Tenants in this building felt their landlord should help with moving costs. Yvonne Davis was one of the burned-out renters.
Wednesday night, I went to bed. I had a home. Thursday morning, I woke up, got my kids dressed. I don't have a home, and this is what's left. Ashes to ashes and dust to dust. This is it. Nothing livable, nothing to repair. Okay, and this man wants us to move into a building like this and continue to pay. I mean, this is a death trap. This is a hazardous zone. I mean, if the walls could talk, they would tell you there was a family here.
Davis had no choice but to take her 3 children and move in with friends.
We have shelter, food, and family services will be out either today or tomorrow.
The Red Cross opened a nearby shelter, providing the tenants with bed and board. But Susie Cooper was afraid vandals might invade her apartment if she left it.
Me taking 5 children to a shelter, leaving what little I have left for the vandals to come and take tonight, this is all I own.
In the aftermath of the riots, routine activities became arduous chores. People lined up at post offices to receive welfare and Social Security checks that were normally delivered to their mailboxes. The National Guard protected government buildings and businesses. Police agencies provided escorts to emergency vehicles and watched out as crews from utility companies worked to restore services. Many neighborhoods had gone without electricity for days. But the day belonged to volunteers. Civilians directed traffic at dangerous and congested intersections such as Manchester and Vermont, where a power failure had knocked out traffic lights. Other volunteers brought food and beverages to those maintaining order. All over the city, people began the day as strangers and ended up as friends. People such as this group, including Pamela Harris, a civilian dispatcher at the Santa Monica Police Department.
We've basically been at it since about maybe 8 this morning. Yeah.
Why are you doing this?
Because I care.
For Pamela Harris and thousands of other Angelenos, Sunday morning brought time for reflection and pause. Churches played the role they so often have in the black community as centers for community organization, as well as sanctuaries for the spirit.
If we can contact God through the medium of prayer, if God responds to our requests, it stands to reason that there is more power in the church house than there is in the White House.
Pastor Rosia Johnson at the Bethany Baptist Church in West Los Angeles urged his congregation to find solace through prayer. As he spoke, soldiers of the National Guard stood watch across the street. Nearby, burned-out buildings bore the scars of rioting. Inside the church, Johnson told congregants to consider themselves blessed that they had come through days of violence relatively unscathed. But he said much work remained.
Can Los Angeles be healed? Can South Los Angeles be healed? Can West Los Angeles be healed? Does Beverly Hills need any healing? Can it be healed? Can Simi Valley be healed? Can America be healed? Can our community be healed? Yes, yes, yes.
Few members of this church had been left untouched by the chaos in Los Angeles.
I wasn't able to go to work, and my clothes were burned in the cleaners. And by me not going to work, that was the main thing. That really made it bad, because I just got a new job.
Yes, sir?
Just the stores. Just can't go to the stores. People are going for welfare. They couldn't cash the checks. They went to the post office to get the checks, and they still couldn't cash them. There was nowhere to cash them. So it's been a lot of problems that way.
You personally?
For me personally, trying to find gas to go to work.
Sunday afternoon, the Bethel AME Church became a food distribution center. The effort had been publicized, so residents from all over the Los Angeles area came to donate goods.
We're doing a major effort at this point in time, trying to do an immediate response to the food need, and we're doing an immediate response.
Pastor Edgar Boyd said the need was enormous.
And people are very satisfied with anything that resembles food, because many of them cannot get the supermarkets. All the supermarkets in our area have either been burned or been looted and just out of business for the moment.
Volunteers kept busy handing out food to anyone who requested it. No questions asked. Many walked for blocks to get here.
Why don't we start off with these close by? Okay, we ready?
Church member Paul Pursley rounded up a group of students from UCLA to help deliver boxes of food to people who could not come to the church. Pursley makes his living delivering paper goods to commercial customers all over Southern California. Yesterday, he drove his car, providing desperately needed food goods to grateful residents of South Central Los Angeles.
Here you go. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. God bless you. Take care. Take care.
Jack Jones seemed frustrated by the shortages he was now facing.
Man, you ain't got nothing. We ain't got no bread, no stores around, no nothing. We ain't got... They tore up everything. It's like we gotta go way out somewhere. And some people like don't have transportation or nothing. It's like you gotta survive with what you got until later.
Yeah, you don't have enough gas in the car to
oh man, don't even talk about gas. You can't even find a gas station. It's like you gotta walk, and I'm glad they finally got the buses running.
Oh, good. Yeah, I would have to.
Another recipient was 57-year-old Arleague Timmons. Timmons has no car, and her arthritis keeps her from walking more than a few blocks. She relied on the corner grocery store for her food, but that's no longer an option.
Before this disturbances,
I walked down on the corner down there and got my food.
And what happened to the store?
It burned up. And it was really, you know, to see people down there with tears in their eyes. I mean, it was just something to see.
I've never seen nothing like this before.
It turns out that the store Ms. Timmons shopped at was in a row of businesses that were looted, then torched by rioters. Among them a beauty shop owned by the Martinez family. They not only lost their store, they lost their home.
Oh, you lived up there too?
We used to live up there, and we used to have a business right down here.
Where are you going to live now?
We are with some of our family in East LA right now.
You have to move to East LA now?
Yeah. But as you can see, we lost everything.
As dusk approached yesterday, authorities hoped this would be the last day the curfew would be necessary. Residents were also anticipating the restored freedom to travel at night would be another sign the crisis had passed. Today, parts of Los Angeles still looked like an occupied war zone. Government agencies were gearing up to repair the devastation, and businesses were getting down to the nuts and bolts of restoration. Residents are now taking the time to reflect on what went wrong. Schools resumed today, and at Hollywood High School, teacher Kenny Long tried to help his students understand the turbulent events of the past week.
Can some of you just call off some words? I want just single words.
Racism.
Racism.
Tolerance.
Poverty.
Poverty. Okay, something else?
Advantage.
I can't hear you.
Advantage.
Advantage? You mean taking advantage of a situation?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Violence.
What else?
Violence.
Violence. I heard a wonderful word I wanted to put up here. I'd like to make that capital letters. And we're going to deal with this word a lot. Ignorance. What else?
Officials are promising to throw the book at those arrested for looting. This morning, a congested court system made preparations to arraign the thousands booked on riot-related charges. The curfew has been lifted tonight throughout most of the Los Angeles area, but authorities warn that should disturbances reoccur, the curfew will go back into effect.
Was anyone surprised by the reaction?
I was.
Yeah. What did you say?
I was it was just a black man in his car, a black male, and he got off his car and there was this Caucasian male driving by, and he reached in, picked up his gun, and shot him 3 times, and twice in the head.
You killed him?
Killed him. And the car kept on going
And where were you when this was happening?
Oh, I was right over there by it.
Were you afraid?
Yes, sir. I was afraid. When I heard the first gunshot, I was real surprised, and I kind of jumped, and then I turned around and I saw.
Does anyone understand the reaction? Can anyone explain the rage, the fury, why that exists? Someone who hasn't spoken yet.
Well, I think at first it was like anger, but then after it started going on for a day and everything, they was just doing it to be doing it. They just started doing it because it was free. So then after the day went by, the anger like settled, and then people just started doing it to be doing it because it was there.
Do you know people who are involved in this?
Yep.
And have you talked to them?
Yep.
And what do they say?
They said I did it to be doing it. They said they were smiling about it and everything.
And who are they? Who are these people? I don't need their names, but are they gangbangers? Who?
Nah, they some decent people.
What do you mean decent people?
You know, they regular students. They don't go here though.
Yeah.
They go to schools out in the valley and stuff. And they go to church and everything just like the next person, but I guess that since they saw an opportunity, they took it.
My friend was telling me the reason that she went to the stores and started looting and stuff because they were burning down stuff in our community, and we don't have nowhere to shop or nothing. And they need diapers and milk and stuff, and her mother has a car, but she has to work, so how else would her brother and sister get milk and diapers and everything? So she was feeling like what everybody else is doing, I have to get something for my, my little brother and sister to survive.
So you're saying that your friend went in to loot a store because she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to get that stuff anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think it was nothing for Rodney King. It probably a little piece of it started. But because my friends and all that were trying to say, let's go do that stuff.
Your friends wanted to do it, and you said no.
Basically, my mom wouldn't let me go, but
And if your mom had let you go, would you?
I admit I would have.
You didn't go out there because your mom said no, but you would have anyway.
Yes.
Why? Why would you have gone into someone else's store and stolen stuff?
This is what I'm saying. If it's gonna burn down, all that good stuff is in it. It would be better off in somebody's house. No, I'm serious. That is it. Go to waste. I know, you don't let that stuff go to waste. Here is $100, $300 items in this, and it's about to get burnt to the ground.
What kind of weapons did you see on the streets?
Really, you didn't have to see. You could just hear them.
Yeah.
You hear like a certain pop, then you hear pop, pop, then you hear like a whole bunch of pops put together.
And what were they?
Shotguns. Some of them had firecrackers, like M80s.
M80s, Uzis, what else?
938s.
938s. And do you know the difference in the sounds that each of these guns make?
If I listen to them, I can.
How do you know the difference?
Like when you get a shotgun, it's more like just one thing, and then when you hear a Uzi, it's sort of a rapid. It's like a rapid sound.
Right, and the 38?
But it's it sounds uncontrollable.
And what does the 38 sound like?
It's like a crackle, though. It's like when you go boom, it's like a crackle. That's how you hear it.
Yeah. Do you realize how shocked many people around this country will be to know that you can tell me the difference between the sounds that these weapons make?
Why would they be shocked?
Why would they be shocked?
Yeah, why would they be shocked?
Because not every young person, unless they're in a hunting club or a shooting club,
I'm in a danger zone.
You're in a danger zone. Can describe the way a weapon sounds. What do you think about what the sociologists have to say about lack of opportunities? Did that lead to the rage, to the anger, or does that have anything to do with it? Yeah.
Well, I think that the sociologists, whatever you said, I don't think they know what they're talking about because they don't live here.
It's about respect. If policemen wanted the black people to respect them, then they had no business disrespecting that man, beating him. Nobody had no right to put their hands on him. And if they wanted, and how can you lead somebody, how can you solve a problem when you haven't been part of it to know what's wrong?
Is that what it's all about, respect? You were telling me about what happens when you in some stores. Tell me that.
When they follow you down the aisles. I mean, I'm not going to make a generalization and say all Korean Americans do that. But I have been in a store before where I have been followed up and down the aisles. And haven't you ever been in a store where you pick something up and to analyze it? You're not going to necessarily buy it, but you just want to see if it's something you may want to come back to get. And then, the Korean was like, oh, that's this price, $5.99 or whatever, and stuff like that. And then they come up to you and then, are you going to buy it or not? And then, it's not, I don't need that. I need respect when I come in your store. You should respect me. Because if you want my business, then you'll respect me enough to leave me alone. I mean,
was that a big part of this, the Korean merchants? Yes.
Little Chinese people might be following you down the aisle because they want you to buy something. They feel like they had a good selling day or whatever. And, I guess it's probably their culture, and other people just don't understand it.
Yeah. What's going to happen when the National Guard leave?
They're going to
But they don't realize the people who are this frustrated aren't after the National Guard. They want the police.
Yeah, they want the LAPD.
That's the police issue. What about the other stuff? Bringing jobs into this community, providing hope. Is that going to happen?
There was already 9 to 5 jobs when it started.
They were
We
what?
already had lousy jobs when it started. Just going to be rebuilding. It's going to be more lousy jobs. 9 to 5.
Less pay.
There doesn't seem to be much hope in this classroom, does there?
It's reality. I mean, we have so much hope. For all of this time, we thought all of this prejudiceness and stuff was going to change, but this trial, it just shows that nothing has changed. We free and everything, but nothing has changed. You know, as long as a black person stay in their place, then, hey, that's it. But if you overstep your bounds and stuff, what they saying is, hey, you know, with Rodney King, what happened with Rodney King, I guess they thinking he overstepped his bounds, so he got beat. You know, a black person, it's just never changed, you know.
We get to see the President of the United States here in our community, where we live, where we work, and where we play.
The people who saw President Bush this morning at a burned-out shopping center included the excited and the surprised. Bush has visited this city 9 times as president, but the White House could find no record of his ever coming to South Central Los Angeles.
It's sad to say that he came after the community has been destroyed, but I was very well impressed with him coming out.
The area was cordoned off under particularly tight security, and access to the president was severely restricted.
He was protected. Well, nobody going to bother him. Why can't we talk to him and ask questions like everybody else do?
While President Bush paid a visit to South L.A., we took a tour of our own.
You see these buildings all along here? These used to be viable businesses at one time. Now they're all closed up because the dollars have dried up in the community.
Our guide was community activist Juanita Tate, executive director of Concerned Citizens of South Central Los Angeles, an economic development organization. Morning. If President Bush were on this tour instead of me, what would you tell him about this?
I would tell President Bush that he needs to get the right dollars in this community so that people that want to do business in this community, that want to produce businesses in this community, to be profitable not only for the community, but for the residents that live here. He needs to get his small business administration out here to find out how we can make this a viable community.
Tate has learned to use the system to help make her community more viable. She's been able to package financing to build low-income housing, but she feels these projects are a drop in the bucket. The economic problems of South Central Los Angeles are long-standing. They worsened after the 1965 Watts riots, as many businesses started to abandon the area. Now, according to Tate, unemployment among black men has reached 40%.
It's disinvestment in the community. Look at these boarded-up buildings. There's no reason for these buildings to be boarded up when they're viable, when there's no place for people to shop. You have to go 3 to 5 miles to a grocery store. Why shouldn't we have viable places in this community that people can buy things and do things? But it takes money to make that happen.
And money also left the community, according to Tate, when many bank branches pulled out. Further down Central Avenue, a former bank building is now a market.
This was Bank of America. This is the last bank that left the southeast end of this community. And
when?
3 years ago. We don't have a bank from where you stand within a 5-mile radius. We were not able to save the bank from closing.
Bank of America says they closed branch offices because the local economy deteriorated. Tate says the banks were in part responsible for the deterioration, and that not only did they close their doors, they turned their backs on small community businesses.
What we need is for SBA to come down here.
She took us to one such enterprise, the 27th Street Bakery at 27th Street and Central. Gregory Spann's family-owned business bakes and distributes sweet potato pies all over the Los Angeles area. The company takes in about $30,000 a month, selling goods baked in 40-year-old ovens. Spann needed capital to meet an increasing demand.
About 5 years ago, in '87, I experienced a tremendous growth in my business to the capacity with the existing equipment that I have now and working 18 hours with 2 shifts with 15 employees, I wasn't meeting the demand for my particular product. So in 1987, I went out into the market area to try to attain loans.
Spann says he was turned down by the government and by banks because of insufficient cash flow. Tate faults the institutions for insensitivity to the firm's potential. So you've been denied by the banks, you've been denied by federal agencies, you've been turned down by the city agencies,
And you know
and you have a business
look at the people putting pies in the car. I mean, it's not like that people don't buy these pies.
Yeah.
They're in 7-Eleven stores. They're in all of the stores. And we have to say, we have to keep Gregory out there until everyone realizes that they will be shamed into giving him that money.
In fairness, we're in the business to make loans.
Donald Mullane is executive vice president at Bank of America, one of the institutions that turned down Span's loan applications.
That's how we make money, is that we make loans. We didn't build this bank to be the size that it is on turning down loans. We made loans. This is the same institution that started Walt Disney Corporation in its garage with a $100 loan. This is the same corporation that started Mattel Toy with a $100 loan, okay? So it's not an organization that doesn't take chances.
Juanita Tate would like to see more chances taken in South Central Los Angeles. She says the abandonment of the area by banks has spurred a growth in check cashing businesses. They provide no loans and charge high interest on what they do offer.
See what happens when these banks leave our community, the only thing we have left is check cashing places. Check cashing places charge us up to 26% to cash checks.
Many check cashing places were targeted by arsonists last week. And because so many Korean-owned grocery stores were also burned down, business at Tommy Peter's convenience store tripled after the riots.
I know.
Peters would like a new refrigerator to keep pace with expanding business. He was hopeful when he got a call from City Hall. What did they say?
Oh, they called and asked me had I been burned out. And I told him no, and he asked me if I knew anybody that had been burned out. They were helping the people that were burned out.
So you couldn't get a loan?
It looks that way.
Because you weren't burned out?
Yeah.
We put Tommy Peter's dilemma to Oscar Wright, Western Regional Director of the U.S. Small Business Administration, the SBA. He needs money. He needs a loan to expand so he can help the neighborhood. Isn't that typical, some say it is, of a much more long-standing problem?
What is typical of miscommunication? You see, you just gave me an example of someone who could possibly be eligible for a loan because of economic injury. I can't make that determination here as we speak, but I would suggest that that individual call the local disaster area center to sit down to see whether he qualifies for an economic injury loan, which was not directly fire damaged.
According to Wright, the SBA is stepping up efforts to support minority-owned enterprises, not just those affected by the LA disturbances. In the meantime, the SBA is planning on spending as much as $300 million to assist victims of the riots. Wright says checks may be issued within the month. Bank of America also will have a loan program to help businesses get back on their feet. Are you worried that these aid packages that are being put together will only be a Band-Aid, will only deal superficially?
They're not even going to be a Band-Aid if they're not for real. And they don't come and release the true dollars to really make a difference. And ain't no sense in nobody coming here for no Band-Aid. See, when they burnt down Watts, there was nobody out there stomping the street for the people in Watts. Yeah. It's a different story now. If they don't do something to tell the truth, we're going to tell the truth on it.
So we're
going to tell it.
You don't want things to go back to normal?
No, it's got to go. We're already at the bottom. It ain't nowhere to go.
During the Bush tour, other South Central Los Angeles residents expressed similar frustrations. A member of the Bush entourage, Housing Secretary Jack Kemp, wanted to hear what they had to say.
You guys, look at this. This is a symptom of putting a Band-Aid on cancer. I'm a contractor here. I'm an electrician. I'm just getting my license. I want to put together some programs to try to take some of these youngsters out of these jail facilities.
As soon as you get it on paper, you give it to Jack Kemp.
I'll send it to you personally. It's on the record, sir. Don't forget us now.
Tomorrow, President Bush plans to visit firefighters and law enforcement officials before leaving Los Angeles in the mid-morning. All around Los Angeles, the charred hulks of burned-out buildings remind residents of the chaos of just 2 weeks ago. As the flames and looting erupted, so too did the comparisons between 1992 and Watts in 1965. But there are big differences. In 1965, the unrest was confined to the South Central area, then a mostly black neighborhood. In 1992, the fires and looting were widespread. South Central LA, now a black and Latino neighborhood, was affected, but rioting also took place in poor communities throughout LA. Nearly 8,000 people were arrested in the city of Los Angeles.
Compared to 1965, why were the disturbances so spread out around Los Angeles this time?
I think you have many more communities with have-nots. I think that's the reality, is we've been spread out more.
LA City Councilman Mike Hernandez represents one of the poorest neighborhoods in the city, Pico Union, close to downtown, where 61 buildings were burned down.
This is a neighborhood that's basically very much people rich and resource poor. I have over 150 people living per acre in this particular area. We have an elementary school down the street with 2,000 kids, and we're trying to figure out where they're going to go to junior high school. We have no park space, no open space in this immediate area. High unemployment rate. It tends to be a first stop center for people from Central America.
In the shadow of downtown, the Pico Union neighborhood has the densest population in Los Angeles. Thousands of immigrants who fled El Salvador and Guatemala have turned Pico Union into a neighborhood reminiscent of a Central American barrio. Not only are some street scenes similar, so is the poverty. Homeless people take up residence on the sidewalk. Street vendors hawk their wares. One, Sergio Miranda, witnessed the outbreak of violence last Wednesday night.
Por allá arriba bajó ya encendida.
¿En un carro o qué?
Un Benz de carro ya prendido con fuego.
Oh, he said a van, I was cleaning up, there was a van that was coming down Bonnie Bray with like a Molotov cocktail that was already on fire, or something on fire, and y lo tiraron. And they threw it.
Ya, y se impactó en la barata.
And then it hit La Barata.
So you saw a Molotov cocktail go
Usted
into
vio que una como bomba incendiaria fue tirado ahí.
No, el Benz de carro se impactó y luego prendió fuego todo.
O de que lo tiraron de una vez.
Ya.
Yeah, I saw it thrown from a van, and I saw it hit the La Barata, and I saw it blow up.
That fire reduced a thriving appliance store to a heap of charcoal. Some local residents were burned out of their homes in the violence. At the Central American Refugee Center, or Koreatown, the needy picked up emergency supplies. Koreatown also helps refugees apply for work permits. Some said when the rioting took place, they felt they were back in a war zone. Among them, a Salvadoran woman named Marta.
It's exactly what happened in my country. The buildings were looted, they were burned up, people were killed. When I go outside of my building and I see all that happening, I feel like I'm in my country. There's no peace.
Andres Candido, a Koreatown staff member, says a lack of jobs for immigrants led to crime before and during the riots. Candido himself lives with his wife and 7 children a few blocks away in a one-bedroom apartment, an apartment that costs $800 a month to maintain. Candido earns $1,000 a month. The place is so crowded, he and his wife have to sleep behind a cardboard partition in their living room.
I know many people, many Salvadorans who've come to this country looking for work. And when they didn't find the work, I've seen many people who are honorable turn to drugs, to selling false documents, to becoming pirates in the street who sell drugs for $10 or $15 in the street.
Not every Latino neighborhood in Los Angeles was affected by the violence in the same way as Pico Union. On the other side of downtown is East Los Angeles, the traditional heart of the Mexican-American community here. Although this area, made up largely of blue-collar families, has its share of problems, it remained virtually immune from the violence that beset other neighborhoods, such as Pico Union. The main reason, according to supermarket owner and businessman Joe Sanchez, a class difference. East LA is better off than Pico Union.
There's a problem of the haves and the have-nots. These were the have-nots that really didn't have a lot to lose. In East LA, it wouldn't happen because most of the people have jobs.
So you felt that, you believe that people here feel they've got more of a stake in this community?
Yes.
Similar points were made at a press conference attended by Sanchez and other members of the influential Mexican-American Grocers Association.
You notice that Latino households are more likely than any other households to have your classic nuclear family. Mother, father, brother, sister, your dog Spot and your cat Puff increasingly is a Latino situation.
These community leaders were trying to ensure that Latinos are included in plans to rebuild L.A. Their pleas were made in East Los Angeles to an attentive crowd of local newspeople. It was quite a contrast to a similar appeal made at the same time by Councilman Hernandez in the Pico Union neighborhood. There was little press interest in Hernandez's attempt to publicize rebuilding efforts here.
This is the area where we weren't getting police response. This is the area where the fire department could not attend because they didn't have that police protection. And a lot of these buildings just went down.
But the problems in this neighborhood go beyond just physical devastation. Madeline Janis is Koreation's executive director. She says that the riots added a new layer of fear to the normal level of anxiety many people here feel.
On Saturday and Sunday of last week, when everyone else was talking about healing and reconciliation and calm, the federal government and the LAPD sent 400 Border Patrol agents right into the heart of the immigrant neighborhood, struck fear and terror into the hearts of many, many, many people. And the police called upon the INS, the Immigration Naturalization Service, to assist them in the arrest, detention of not only looters, not only people involved in the destruction and the rioting, but a lot of people just because of their ethnicity.
This man was one of 700 turned over to the Immigration Service out of thousands picked up by police during and after the rioting. He was kept in a cell with other deportees. With no air conditioning, the place seemed like a sauna. Civil rights lawyers complained that detention facilities are inhumane and that law enforcement officials used the riots as an opportunity for wholesale roundups of immigrants. Edward Flynn is Koreation's legal director.
Well, there's been appalling violations of people's civil liberties in Los Angeles in the last week and a half. Both the Los Angeles Police Department and the INS have been stopping people in huge numbers on the barest of pretexts or on no pretext at all, and have been demanding to know their immigration status. And if people respond that they're from another country, they have been taken immediately into INS custody. There appears to have been a concerted effort to root out people who are allegedly undocumented and to deport them as quickly as possible.
Robert Mushrak is district director of the Immigration Service. He described detention facilities as nice and said there was no wholesale roundup of immigrants.
So there were arrests being made, but not in such dramatic numbers as you would say or paint it as a roundup in the streets of illegal aliens. That was certainly not the case. Those efforts were targeted at specific individuals who were suspected of criminal violations, either because of thievery, looting, or that they were involved in some kind of gang activity. I think the numbers speak for themselves, and the numbers, I think, are dramatic. We know that over 700 people were taken into custody by INS as deportable aliens, people who were not supposed to be here, and their arrests were attributed directly to the civil unrest.
Since the riots, there have been calls for greater crackdowns on illegal immigrants. But Latino concerns go way beyond immigration matters. Latinos comprise some 40% of the LA population. Most have stable family ties and a strong work ethic. But the pattern of success and mobility goes just so far. There are still many neighborhoods where success and mobility have no home. That became painfully clear 2 weeks ago in places like Pico Union, places that were ripe for burning. On April 29th, TV cameras recorded a series of brutal attacks at the intersection of Florence and Normandy Avenues in south-central Los Angeles. Starting soon after the verdict in the Rodney King beating case, black youths pelted motorists with rocks and bottles. Some drivers were even pulled from their cars, beaten and robbed. Police were nowhere in sight. It was mob rule. The viciousness of the attack on white truck driver Reginald Denny, broadcast on live TV, quickly became a symbol of out-of-control racial violence. 2 weeks after the Denny beating, police made high-profile arrests of 4 men in connection with the case. Prosecutors asked they be held without bail and charged them with attempted murder, robbery, mayhem, and torture.
The complaint sets forth the following as special allegations. As to Damian Williams, gang association in the commission of the alleged offenses.
Police say the violence at Florence and Normandy was orchestrated by gangs, and that 3 of the 4 defendants are violent gang members. The defendants deny gang affiliations, and many in the black community are rallying to the defense of men they call the LA 4.
We want to make certain that justice is available to them as justice has been available to anyone else.
The Reverend Edgar Boyd is pastor of the Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church. He and other leaders are afraid that the men accused of assaulting Reginald Denny will not be treated fairly by the same justice system that acquitted the white officers who beat Rodney King.
Give these 4 young men the same level of consideration. Let them remain innocent until a justice system proves them guilty.
The 4 men, Antoine Miller, Damian Williams, Gary Williams, and Henry Watson, have pleaded not guilty to the charges. A 5th, Anthony Brown, has pleaded innocent to a charge of spitting on Denny as Denny lay on the ground. The bail on the men ranges up to $580,000. 3 of those charged in the Denny attack are also accused of assaulting a dozen other people at the intersection. Today, gutted buildings at Florence and Normandy are reminders of the chilling violence which occurred there. Tom's Liquor Store, one of the first looted in the riots, has reopened. And there is a new business on the corner, a stand selling T-shirts reading "Justice for the LA 4 raises money for the defendants."
Bake sale! Come on, get a cake! Pies too!
A block away, supporters of the men recently held a bake sale. Some neighbors sported yellow ribbons to demonstrate their support. Friends and family were quick to disavow the violence that occurred at Florence and Normandy. They say they're speaking out because they feel the bail is excessive and the charges overstated. Georgina Williams, a nurse, said she's only seeking fair treatment for her son Damien, charged with beating Denny and 9 other people.
I'm saying if the boys did this, they should be arrested. But treat them like you treat other people. The justice system should be the same for me as it is for you. You got the same law books.
Somebody who sees.
Los Angeles District Attorney Ira Reiner maintains the justice system is fair.
There is only a single standard of justice, and that standard is that where their crime has been committed, it will be investigated and it will be prosecuted. It was prosecuted in the King case. It is going to be prosecuted in this case right here.
But many in this predominantly black community say there are different standards in their neighborhood. Young men complain the police too often assume they are gang members. Auto mechanic Kerman Cunningham is charged with throwing rocks at police just prior to the violence at Florence and Normandy. He says the Rodney King verdict ignited an anger about what many in the community feel is constant police harassment.
It's not the Rodney King verdict that has everyone upset. It's the years of police officers treating blacks like this. I've never got a ticket sitting in my car. I've always got to get out, put your hands up. You know what I mean?
Some residents say police action may have triggered the violence at Florence and Normandy on April 29th. Police first responded to reports of rocks and bottles being thrown a few blocks away. They arrested 3 people. One of them was let go without charges filed against him. That young man, who asked us not to identify him, said his arrest and treatment by the police enraged an angry crowd.
The police, they, had started after me, and I haven't done that. They had thought I had thrown a rock, and all my friends, they were standing around, and they knew I hadn't thrown no rock.
The officers had handcuffed the young man and threw him over the fence like he was a piece of garbage.
Jay Kawana, owner of a nearby car wash, said the police should have handled matters differently.
When you see an incident like that, the first thing that came to their mind after just hearing that verdict on television, that it wouldn't be another Rodney King incident.
I was on the ground and they were trying to handcuff me, and the officer stated to me, "Don't make this another Rodney King thing."
The crowd taunted police officers who were ordered to leave. After the police retreated, a group of men attacked a photographer. A crowd then gathered at Florence and Normandy. The attacks on mostly non-black passers-by went on for at least 2 hours.
That's how fucking Rodney King felt, white boy.
Among the victims was construction worker Fidel Lopez, who still doesn't understand why he was beaten or why the police weren't there to help him.
Almost I lost my life for nothing. Because I know those people is, in that bad moment, they are angry with the deceased or anybody, I don't care with who. And, but I'm the victim, I'm innocent, I don't know what they do, why they do that to me. And they say they hit 10 or more people before me. And I say, where's the police?
With no police around, several Good Samaritans risked their lives to save victims. A pastor helped Lopez to safety. Others eventually rescued Reginald Denny, who, according to his doctor, was left near death as he lay next to his truck. Barbara and James Henry rescued a Latino motorist who was beaten unconscious in front of their home.
Me and another guy just kind of lifted him up and just took him over to the side and laid him right where you see that red mark.
The Henry family has lived in this home for 10 years. James Henry, an aerospace worker, says he was angered by the violence, but he understands it.
Oh, I was very, very angry because it wasn't a way to go about making a change. You know, I sympathized with how they felt, but I didn't agree with how they were going about trying to make a change.
The Henrys are sympathetic because they've seen the neighborhood deteriorate. They've witnessed rising unemployment and crime, and are planning to move because they want their son Jacques to live in a community without gangs.
And I don't really want Jacques to have to make a choice about Bloods or Crips, Republican or Democrat, independent, yes, but I don't want him to have to make that type of choice. And if we stayed here, it's almost imperative that he's going to have to make a choice.
What are you doing? The residential area around Florence and Normandy appears to be a typical middle-class neighborhood, but it's not. Some 21% of the residents live below the poverty level. The poverty rate is even higher than it was during the 1965 Watts riots. Back then, residents were able to use the income from relatively well-paying factory jobs to buy these single-family homes, but those jobs have largely dried up.
So you have more poverty and joblessness because the jobs are just not available. You know, there's not, I don't think, a single factory type of organization that's in a 3-mile radius here.
Is it avenue or street?
After the recent riots, the federal government expanded its summer employment program. Young applicants waited in line for hours for mostly minimum wage jobs.
Are you using drugs? Okay, have you been in jail before?
But the jobs offered here are only temporary. Many in the community, such as family physician A.C. Mitchell, would like to see long-lasting solutions to the area's deep-seated problems.
Needs to be called.
Mitchell has worked in the community for 20 years and has also seen its slow decline.
I see people walking up and down the street who used to ride in cars. I see children who used to be well-dressed walking up and down the street, not quite so well-dressed now. So this tells me that what I'm looking at is a deteriorating neighborhood.
Mitchell feels the riots were an expression of frustration.
These kids are trying to express themselves. They're frustrated. They're rebelling against the system. You cannot do this to me forever and get away with it.
We must embrace each other as we stand up and speak out for justice and for what's right.
The Reverend Edgar Boyd is helping to raise money for the defendants accused in the Florence and Normandy violence. He rejects the use of the word riot.
It was a rebellion. It was a group of people who had been isolated, who had been ostracized, who had been just pushed out, disallowed to participate in the institutions that make differences, institutions that make decisions, institutions that really govern the welfare of the people who make up the community. And they then lashed out at the institution, not particularly at Reginald Denny, because they didn't know Reginald Denny from anybody else. He just happened to be a white American who represented the institution. And they responded. They reacted.
And you can understand that?
I can understand that. I'm not condoning anything that's immoral. I'm not condoning anything that's irresponsible, nor anything that's unlawful. But I can understand the trauma, the social and emotional trauma through which they went, because I went through it too.
Riot or rebellion, all sides, community activists, police and prosecutors agree the neighborhood has significant social and economic problems. But for the short term, those in law enforcement are treating the violence at Florence and Normandy as a series of street crimes. The prosecutor in charge of the cases is Lawrence Morrison.
For whatever reason, it was an outbreak of violence, and characterize it as civil unrest, an uprising, a rebellion, or even a riot. We're treating this as a series of crimes that individuals committed, and we're investigating and prosecuting them. We expect to prosecute more, and from the videotapes we've seen, there are in excess of 50 to 75 individuals committing attacks. We have an additional number of citizens who have reported crimes that we don't know who did them yet against them.
50 to 75 individuals committing crimes on how many people?
Probably in excess of 100.
Morrison is part of a 20-member federal local task force inspecting hours of videotape shot at Florence and Normandy during the riots. Once again, videotape will be key evidence in a highly charged beating case where questions of justice will be paramount.